something will get tweeted out, right?
Well, hello everybody. Hopefully you can hear me as I cannot hear myself. But this is Andrew Dukowitz from ZoneCoverage, and this is another post-game live stream of the Missing Wolves. Today we have basketball junkie, Canis Hoopus alumnus, the current runner of their Twitter channel. This second, friend of mine, Ryan Eichten, was sitting right next to me. Ryan, how's it going, man?
Good. It's weird to kind of sit right next to each other and do this. It's certainly better off than trying to squeeze into one little computer camera, but yeah, should be fun.
Well, and we already have an echo, so maybe we will squeeze into one screen. We'll figure it out. I'll see if I can manage the echo by just muting people. But Ryan, we have basketball to talk about. Indiana Pacers fall to the Minnesota Timberwolves. I would like to say that might have been because Obi Toppin got injured halfway through it. But, the big storyline from it is going to be Anthony Edwards unfortunately goes down injured with a right hamstring tightness, doesn't return to the game, did return to the court. But Ryan, what's your first kind of initial thoughts of Ant going down?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's not a long-term thing. I think obviously that's the biggest thing. We didn't really get post-game. We didn't get any indication, no update from Finch or the locker room is in terms of his health. But the minute he goes down, obviously the game gets more difficult to win. But ultimately, the Pacers have how many people out? Darn near half the roster coming into the game. And then you mentioned Obi Toppin, and I think one more player went down during the game. So you're trying to beat Siakam, who is great tonight, and a bunch of others. Yeah, it's just the minute Ant goes down, it's like just win the game and regroup later. And I kind of thought that's what happened just in terms of at halftime. It's really tough, again, and the Pacers were down a billion people seemingly, but it's really tough when someone goes down, especially your best player mid-game, because it just throws off all of your rotations for that. So I felt like once they got to halftime, they got to reset the rotation. Mike and Bones played the whole second half. One or the two was on the court the entire time, which I think with Ant out especially, that's where they needed to go. And then once that got happened, they were able to take a lead, and there was some chicanery late, of course, which always the Wolves always there with the Wolves, but ultimately I think they largely had that game in control.
Chicanery is right. I mean, it always seems like, especially the beginning of the fourth quarter, I mean, 5 fouls in 3.5 minutes was a little excessive. But, I mean, I think this was a good sign for the Wolves, because I think in years past they might lose this game instead of kind of persevere and get through it and end up winning it. I mean, this was a really good game for Mike Conley to finally come back to being playable. Naz Reid, his fourth quarter was fantastic. Jalen Clark only played 15 minutes, but it seemed like he was out there for a lot closer to like 30 with just how much his defense impacted it. You saw a lot of guys step up, which again, I think in past years, maybe that doesn't happen with this Wolves team, especially against a team like the Pacers that is going to play hard, is going to bring energy at every time. So, I mean, I'm taking this as a positive. It's a win, so we kind of have to take it as a positive, but I thought there was good things to glean from it too. What about you?
Yeah, I thought Randall played well. Obviously, when you're down your best player, that's the first, you got to look to your next best offensive player, and that was Julius, and he was basically in control of that whole game. The Pacers defensively had really no answers for him. They tried doubling, they tried single coverage in the first half, and he was able to pretty much do whatever he wanted, and that's why they won this game. If Randall plays just a good game instead of a fantastic game, I think they lose this game, and we're kind of, wouldn't say in existential crisis mode, but losing to the Pacers at home opener, even given this Anthony Edwards, given who the Pacers put on the floor tonight, I should go look up what their closing lineup ended up being. I'll pull that up here quick, but it's just kind of a game you need to win. And they are going to end up having a lot of those games to start the season here. Their schedule is, especially after tomorrow's game against Denver, they're going to be favored in a lot of these games. I think probably like of the first like 14, 16 games, there's only going to be one or two that they're underdogs in, assuming relative health for every team, which I guess with Ant maybe we can't assume. But without Julius, they lose this game. And I know, obviously, I agree that like there needs to be better play, or it's not just about winning games. Obviously, they're trying to develop players and such, but especially once your best player goes down, you just got to win. And if you can start to stack up wins here early, middle of the season, then we can start to kind of cycle in more of the Wolves can cycle in more of the project type players, or even like Shannon didn't end up playing in the second half just due to how where Finch wanted to go. And then obviously, I guess last quick thing is like the Rob breaking his nose thing just kind of stinks. I'm still not sure he really plays in this game. But to play, what did it end up being, 58 seconds, and then to break your nose is just that's unfortunate. On top of a lot of stuff for Rob in his young career.
Yeah, I mean unfortunate is an understatement. He comes into this season with the expectation of, you're going to get a chance to play. This is going to be your opportunity. And then the preseason happens and summer league happens. And I think at least what I've gleaned from it was he still has the same problems he had a year ago. He's still small and he still turns the ball over a ton, which then you get 58 seconds and you break your nose. And now, I mean, who knows if he is in a mask tomorrow and it was just, hey, take tonight off, work on getting the swelling down so you're good for Denver. But it does seem like he is, getting buried in the bench here. I mean, TJ obviously is going to play if Mike is able to play the 15 to 20 minutes that I think we expected him to be able to play at a high level. And then Jalen, I think, has really impressed. I love the kid, but he has been really impressive just with what he brings to the table. And if he's able to hit like some of those back cut layups, if he's able to just shoot decent from three, I don't know where Rob's minutes come. And that's not even mentioning Bones, who got another 18 minutes tonight. 3 turnovers is tough. Let's be honest. A couple of those turnovers were really tough, but Bones is probably their break glass emergency point guard now, especially if Mike is entering a different phase of his career, which I'd love to get your thoughts on that. Like, what do you make of Mike so far this season?
Yeah, it's been a tough start to the season. A couple things I noticed while you're talking in the box score. I didn't notice Joe Ingles Slob Wizard. We got one of those. He emoted the ball. I love the 1 second game played. It's beautiful. And then 2. Beautiful. I mean, that's all you want. But I do have the Pacers closing lineup, at least from 5.5 minutes left till slightly under a minute when they were subbing offense or defense. But Pacers lineup: Tony Bradley, Ben Shepherd, Pascal Siakam, Ray J. Dennis, Aaron Nesmith. So by my count, that's 2 of their rotation players. That'll probably like a healthy rotation player, Siakam and Nesmith. But I mean, that's just any win is good, but like it's obviously not something to write home about in that case. But going back to your question with Mike, before the season, I think I would have pushed back hard on this seeming, I don't know if the narrative is the right word, but like the Mike Conley is wash type deal. And I still think I'm still mostly there, that I don't think these first 3 games, or maybe better put, the first 2 games, are representative of what they're going to get from Mike the entire season. But it has, at least 3 games in, it has been a steeper drop off than I think at least I anticipated, or a lot of other people anticipated too. It's been rough, honestly. And I'm still willing to give it time, but because especially in this game, like I said, they played Conley. Basically, Conley took Edwards' starting spot, not nearly as many minutes as Ant would play, obviously, but I think they needed that point guard out there, especially against an Indiana team who's kind of similar to like Portland or Oklahoma City, is going to keep pressuring the ball. We saw, I think, at least twice, Randall got ripped for easy layups on the other end, especially right at the end of the half, which is just a classic Wolves special. You have the ball with the shot clock off and the other team score. That's It's classic Wolves at this point, but they're going to need Mike. I don't know in what capacity, but there's going to be nights like tonight where I thought he played pretty well. The first half was kind of more similar to the first two games, but in the second half it was the kind of the professional Mike that they needed. In terms of just like what level, I think it's good that he's coming off the bench. I think it's kind of clear at this point that he's not a starting caliber player, and that's probably just to be expected at his age. And certainly the 24 and a half minutes he played tonight are not representative of what he will play for the rest of the year. But there's going to be nights like the first two games where he's just not going to look right. And I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if he plays the back-to-back tomorrow. Home back-to-back helps. The travel back-to-backs, I would imagine, will be not Mike's strong suit. But yeah, while I'm willing to push back on, like, I do think Mike can still provide a lot for this team. It is worrying, just the point guard situation in general. Obviously, we talked about Rob, and Bones is nice, but I think there's a ceiling there. There's a reason he was available 2 seasons in a row, basically at a minimum. Or not even last season, they picked him up on a 2-way, but they're gonna need Mike, because I think it's the easiest way to paper over the point guard issues.
Yes, Matt. Rob does get hurt, and then there's immediately 40 minutes a game that open up. And I mean, again, with Rob, it's so tough because broken nose is different for everyone. I mean, you see Rocco break his nose. He's playing with a mask on 2 days later. It's just tough because sometimes when you break your nose, you can get swelling, you can have vision problems. The pain is ridiculous. So, like, if you don't have just a ridiculous amount of pain tolerance, like, that sucks. And guys in the NBA are going to hit you in the face and bump you in the mask, and that's going to suck too. Which, again, kind of the whole thing with Rob the last year and a half is like, what are you going to put him through that might negatively impact his development? And is making him play through a broken nose when he's still not quite at that level yet going to hurt his development, or is it going to help? I don't know. I think it's a situation where maybe he is back by the end of the week. Maybe he's back for the Lakers game. Theoretically, I mean, the Nuggets are probably not a great team to have Rob play against, just with like Bruce Brown and their kind of pressure that they can put on him with Christian Brown as well. I mean, that's just not a great Rob team. Lakers, though, with no Luka, and I mean, Gabe Vincent is probably their best perimeter guard defender. Like, sure, that's a great matchup for Rob, but it's really tough to see a path for him to leapfrog Jalen, leapfrog Bones, leapfrog Terrence. Mike's in front of him now. And if Ant is just, if this was more of a precautionary thing, he probably gets buried on the bench pretty quick. Is that kind of where your head is at too, Ryan? Yeah,
it's hard to the Dillingham conversation is tough, just in general. I don't know. It's just, I think a lot of what is going on there is happening in practice, good and bad. And ultimately we can just kind of go by their actions as much as their words. And obviously he's out tonight, so there's nothing to discuss there, but I don't think they view him as one of their 9 or 10 best players. Unfortunately, we can talk about all we want, like, well, they should still play him because they just need to find out or how is he going to improve if not for minutes. But you can disagree with what they're doing. I probably am closer to that side, but I think with any sports discussion, you kind of got to go with the baseline of, like, they're not stupid. They're not just like
hopefully
their reasoning might be wrong, but they're not coming out of it with no information. They're not sitting Rob on the bench to spite you, dear listener of this show, as much as we'd like to think they do that. So I don't know. It's hard to know what the best path forward is. And I guess ultimately you can't really argue too much with them just trying to win games and playing their best guys.
Godfrey, I see your question there. I am going to throw us to a couple ad reads here before I get to it, though. But The Rudy trade, we can revisit it quick, but first ads, because I have mortgages to pay and this helps a little bit. So here we go. Well, hello. Thank you, Livestream Andrew. This is Ad Read Andrew. And today we have Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, the presenting sponsor for the Missing Links podcast. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling strives to inspire people to follow their ideas, working with respect and understanding to create a quality, tailored result. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, located in Blaine and serving in the North Metro area, is here to help you with your building and remodeling needs. I can say personally, thanks to Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, I have a beautiful deck in my backyard and countless projects that I started, they finished. Get started on your new deck or remodel today by calling Isaac at 763-710-5686. And we're back with another ad read. This time for Pence Homes, the presenting sponsor of Hitting the Hardwood Network. From the best tools and technology to transparency throughout the entire process, Nate Pence and the Pence Homes team is the top choice for buyers, sellers, and is proud to support you and your home ownership goals. Get started today by calling 612-308-1122 or by emailing info@pencehomes.com. Okay, so first, Godfrey, I'm going to bring up your first comment here first. Of 2 conference finals make the Rudy trade a success. No way they get that far this year. Stuck with Rudy and Julius for 2 more years. I'll just be honest. I think it's a success. You look at the guys they traded away. I don't think Walker Kessler would be an impact player on this team. No other human player that was in that trade is on the team anymore. Beverly's retired. Vando's on LA. List goes on and on. And then you look at like the Keontae George and the 2 picks that are still coming up. I mean, I don't know if Keontae George is better than Rudy on this team if they kept that pick and ended up getting George for it. But I think it's a success. I would say with the stuck with Rudy and Julius 2 more times. And Ryan, I'll get your thoughts on it too. But how those contracts are set up is really, after this year, they're super tradable. They're just a 1+1, $30 million, $35 million. Like, those are contracts that you can move relatively easy. You can pair them together with a mid-level exception guy and get up to a max salary slot. Like, I don't think they're going to trade like both of them, but theoretically they could trade both of them together and get to like that 70 million super max spot. But the contracts into the future don't bother me as much. I think they really structured those so that they could make trades. But Ryan, what do you think?
Yeah, it's weird to say stuck with Julius after a performance like tonight. And really, he was good at the playoffs too. To me, it's hard to not categorize the Rudy trade as an outstanding success. I get that it feels like, or maybe it will play out as such, that there's like a ceiling on this version of the team, that they're not going to be able to make the finals, win a championship, and that those picks out the door will hinder them from like adding on to this team. And I think that's a fair concern. The first year they get Rudy, they don't make the playoffs without him. They just don't. Especially Cat gets hurt that year and they don't. And even if you bake in success for the next year's team, and obviously sliding doors, who knows what sort of, maybe they have Walker Kessler. Let's just assume like that's the pairing. They don't make the Western Conference Finals. If you just swap, like you undo that trade and you have Kessler, you don't make the Western Conference Finals. So we're sitting here in this theoretical world of, yes, you have all your picks. Yes, you have a cheaper version of Rudy, not nearly as good Rudy, but like they just had the best 2 seasons in the history of the franchise. I would argue the best 2 seasons in the history of Minnesota sports, aside from the Lynx championships and the Twins 2 World Series. There isn't another, other than those 2 teams winning championships, there's not a better 2-year stretch in Minnesota sports history. I'm really struggling to think of one. So it's hard for me to think that way and just go, yeah, but they gave up an extra pick. Like it was fun, right? And I'm not coming down on Godfrey here at all. Like, it's a fair question, absolutely. But I just kind of err on the side of, wasn't the last 2 years like goddamn fun? I mean, last year's regular season was kind of rough, but like they made the West Finals twice. We can go through and look at all the amazing NBA or like really good NBA teams that only made like one Western Conference Finals or not at all. Like, I mean, Embiid still hasn't made an East Final. Cats made the conference finals in both conferences, and Embiid hasn't done that. Like, I think about the Lillard Trailblazers. Like, those were awesome teams. Either pre Aldrich going to San Antonio and post, and they made one conference finals and didn't win a single game because the Warriors were a machine at that point. But like, it was just the Clippers, the Lob City Clippers. Like, that was probably one of the most fun teams of that era in the NBA. Never made the conference finals. Probably should have. That Rocket series is insane. 98 Vikings are a shout out, but like the 97 Vikings and 99 Vikings like didn't get you much. And like you're saying they got smoked by Dallas and OKC. Was the Gary Anderson kick more fun? What? I mean, regular season wise, I got it, and I was 3 at the time, but certainly they were the best. That 98 Vikings team was the best offense until Moss went to New England and they almost ran the table in New England. But yeah, it's up there. I mean, you can argue with different teams in different eras, but I'm going to err on the side of like the team is really good, and it's gotten Anthony Edwards just a heaping total of playoff games to work with. And if he's going to be the grade A superstar that they needed him to be to win a championship, I think this was the better route to get him all of those minutes, get him all of that time. And it does create this issue of if this version of this team isn't good enough, that they're kind of hamstrung a little bit with picks to go out and do that. But every path to the championship is hard. And I just think how it's played out, this is the road that's going to pay off or give them the best chance of paying off.
I think one thing, I know I probably don't talk about it enough, but just Rudy did change a lot of cultural things here. Like, I wasn't covering the team before Rudy, but talking to people around the team, talking to my boss over at ZoneCoverage, Tom Shear, I mean, like, there wasn't this like crazy work ethic around this team before Rudy got here. There wasn't necessarily like the guys that wanted to play every single night and then had the same like sense of pride. I don't know like what that leads to the rest of Ant's career. I don't know like if we'll ever know that answer, but like it is one of those things where like I think he had a lot of value for a young Anthony Edwards of just like taking the game seriously. I think honestly like Mike had a lot of value in that way too, but again, like we'll never know. I'm pretty confident that like if we didn't do that trade and we're running out Walker Kessler, Leandro Balmaro, Jared Vanderbilt, and Patrick Beverly the next year, like we're probably not any better than Rudy's first year. And I mean, 2 of those guys are out of the league. Walker Kessler's people are kind of, losing a little bit of interest in him, and Vando's a bench guy for LA. Like it's tough. What I would say though is like, I do think the Rudy end of his tenure here, is going to be at some point Rudy will drop off, and then I think it's fair to revisit it. Right now it's pretty solid, but it's interesting how, there will be another wave when Rudy falls off and he's a bench guy making $38 million. Nate Pence of Pence Homes, presenting sponsor of Hitting the Hardwood. Happy good win without Ant. Happy Bones minutes. Great game from Julius. Nate, if you're still in here, I'd love to hear from you because I saw that you were at the game. What did you think of the lighting tonight? Because that was unbelievable. Like I'm not gonna lie, when like Charlie was on the pod 2 days ago and he was like, I'm really excited for the lighting, which no offense Charlie, but I like had to hold my eyes in place so I didn't roll my eyes. And then as I'm driving to the arena and everyone was like, oh my god, this lighting is gonna be amazing, I was kind of just again like, oh boy, it's their lights. That was like legitimately awesome. Like the vibe in Target Center is so much better. They had like the neon greens going on in the upper deck during like dead balls. Like Nate agrees. Lighting was awesome. Okay, good. Nate, who is a realtor extraordinaire, if he says the lighting was great, I trust him fully. very happy with the look. I'm excited for Lynx season too. Just cheap plug. We do this for Lynx games too. I think it'll look dope in the Lynx games. I'm so glad they did it. Ryan, I'll throw it to you though. Lighting, is that the best thing that happened tonight? Is the lighting?
Kind of. I think it's really outstanding because I mean it's just really cool. Like if you guys are able to go to a game, it's a lot different. I mean everything's a lot different than going to games like 10 or so years ago and the team's terrible and you're just there. I mean I remember just going to games like I was going there to see other people. I remember one holiday break taking my family to a Spurs game just because I wanted to see Duncan. Like that, it was just that. And now we actually have the good team that theoretically people want to come see. That's great, but it just makes it all so much more professional. And that's been a big thing. I mean, it's still not, it's probably, I haven't been to all the arenas certainly, but like it's down in the bottom, could be last in terms of NBA arenas. Like it's just not, in a lot of ways, it's not up to the standard of the rest of the league. But this lighting at least helps that. The jokes, I've heard multiple people made the jokes. Well, it's, yeah, the seats are darker. So like the only thing lit up is the cool stuff, the court and the trees. The court was awesome too. But the trees are back and all that. And the rest of the arena is dark, which is what's lacking. I'm interested to just over the next, how long will it take? 5, 6, 10 years, whatever the new stadium stuff that is eventually coming. But I knew the lights were going to be cool when the ownership started hyping it up before they even like they were talking about it before they talked because they had to talk to the mayor's office because the city technically owns the building, so they had to go talk to the mayor's office. Like Jacob Fry's in a re-election campaign and he's got to deal with A-Rod and Lori bugging him about paying for new lights. I don't know if they met with Fry specifically, but whatever. The lights were awesome. The atmosphere was awesome. It was a weird game. Ant goes down. You're playing a team that you just really have to beat. The player intros were good as always. It was nice. Someone mentioned Naz, Nate did. They're playing well, and that was a big thing. First 2 games he was really, really rough, and I think it was important for all of us, myself included, just to remember the tragedy that happened to him this offseason with his sister dying, and it's we mentioned that, and really it's we don't want to get into his head, but it's the worst thing. It's the worst thing. And if you're going to be out there obviously and you play poorly, like that's what comes with it. But it's not surprising that if he was in his own head, especially just with everything. And it was cool to see when he got introduced, because home opener they introduced everyone, not just the starters, and I think he got the loudest pop even on top of Edwards. I think Naz got the loudest cheer, and it was good to see him. He knocked down I think just 1 3, but it pushed the lead back up to 9. It was just like even when he wasn't hitting shots, I thought he was doing a good job impacting the rest of the game, like breaking up plays and just like getting offensive rebounds and quick putbacks. So it was really good to see Naz play well, because if Ant does miss time, we don't know, a game, a week, who knows? They're going to need Naz if they want to win some of these games, even against lesser opponents, looking past the Denver game tomorrow.
Well, and Denver tomorrow, they're full strength. Aaron Gordon's doing 360 windmill dunks off of alley-oops and scoring 50 points. And Jokic had a triple-double before the fourth quarter again tonight, which I saw on Insta, 69 triple-doubles before the fourth quarter for Nikola Jokic. Nice. Is wild. Also, yes, nice. That's going to be a ridiculously hard game, and Denver wakes up for Minnesota. Minnesota wakes up for Denver. It'll be fun, but then after Denver, you're playing the Lakers without Luka or LeBron. It kind of gets into a little more lull of the schedule where theoretically they should be able to pick up wins. I do want to just also add before we close here, DMX in the intro hype vid, that was chef's kiss. Bryson, if you're in here, if you can pass that on to whoever does the Wolves hype vids, that was incredible. But Ryan, I do want to give you the space here as we're winding down. Anything you have coming out over at Canis, anything you want to plug? I know you have a podcast that we all love, 2 words, Wolves Pod, but anything else coming out for you?
Yeah, I mean, you basically mentioned it. read my stuff on Canis. Tomorrow I'll be doing kind of a more, I'm trying this, put out just a quick recap of tonight's game, but I'm going to try to more of like a column type article tomorrow, kind of recapping the game and whatever I come up with as a topic. But then, 2 Words Wolves podcast is my podcast with Leo Sun. So we'll have an episode on Tuesday following, or it'll go up on Wednesday following the Denver game tomorrow. And then I do 2 podcasts a week, so you can check that out. Dukowitz here's got you right after the games, but if you're looking for more of like a day after type podcast, you can turn into 2 Words Wolves pod.
And I will probably be writing about hamstrings tomorrow. If anyone wants to know all about hamstrings, that's my niche. We do have Terry Horseman on the post-game pod tomorrow. He won't be here because he is Lynx exclusive, I think. Something about like, I don't want my boss to find out because then I'll have to work more. But Terry will be here. And as always, me and Terry, when we're together, we will put out some form of content. We don't know if it'll be good, but it will be content. I think that's all I had. Ryan, thank you so much for joining me, man. And until tomorrow, listen to 2 Words Wolf Spot. It's a great pod. They had Jim Peterson on earlier. Dane has been on. Kyle Teige, I think, was on recently. Like, go listen to it. It's a great pod.